The content in this podcast may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome back to Strange and Mundane, the podcast where Taylor tells you strange things.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Strange enough.
Strange enough. And
so Taylor, I've seen some shit lately.
yeah, which shit though? Because there's a lot of it.
For me, the biggest thing lately has been a lot of the AI stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was the AI called Scarlett. Have you heard of that one?
No.
It's literally like uses the voice of like Scarlett Johansson, and it has conversations with people that sound like a real person on the other end.
I did see something. I remember there was that AI Drake song, which was actually pretty decent, honestly.
By like Ghostwriter? Yeah,
and they're being sued apparently. But I think the interesting thing about AI is that there's ChatGPT, there's Copilot, there's a lot of different chat and text parts of AI. And then there's also the like AI art.
And like the new voice. But the
AI art cannot get text right.
No?
No. So I was trying to do an Easter post, and I was like a bunny, and it says Happy Easter or Hoppy Easter or something, and it couldn't get the spelling right. It was like Hoppy, and then Easter was like Eester, and I was like, what?
Maybe they're like pulling like too much misinformation and like incorrect things from the majority. Maybe it's like just showing that like the average person just doesn't know how to spell.
I hate saying things without being able to like quote where I saw it or how I saw it, but I was scrolling and I saw that someone was talking about how AI has an IQ of like 180.
What's the max?
That I'm not familiar with, but I know 180 is high.
I don't think I've ever taken an IQ test.
I know 180 is high, but I also know based on utilizing ChatGPT when I have a question.
But plot twist, who's coming up with these calculations? Is this just a number that's being spit out by AI?
That's interesting.
You know, like conspiracy theory wise, like, because we know there was a recent thing. Sorry, I'm going to backtrack on this. There was a recent thing that had come out talking about ChatGPT-4s or the GPT-4 AI and how there was a company set to test that AI. And they're always testing for the things like, can they make biological and chemical weapons? Can they recreate themselves? Can they create in general, duplicate themselves or like turn themselves into like a mass spread virus? And then one of the interesting things was like, can it deceive humans?
Yeah.
And so recently with that, that they had basically asked did this research. They ran some tests to basically find out if it can deceive. And one of the things that they found out was it used a TaskRabbit, which I honestly have heard of it before, but I didn't know that it's like you could pay somebody to just do some like menial task.
TaskRabbit is like, I think you can get like an assistant on there or maybe someone to walk your dog. Or I think there's even like services on there of people that will like build stuff in your house for you. Like if you order a new couch, they'll put it together. And
so the chat or the AI had basically hired a TaskRabbit to complete one of those CAPTCHAs. You know, those little, like, are you a robot thing?
Right.
That it tells you to, like, to click, which, I mean, there's conspiracy theories about those anyway. But the way they usually work is by measuring your mouse movements. And it's not really if you get the question right or wrong, because, like, an AI can probably figure out what a rabbit or whatever image is what.
Right.
The thing it usually tracks is how precise your mouse movement is.
That's interesting because I actually was wondering... I have to do those all the time. And I'm like, what drives it? I don't understand. Because sometimes it's like, oh, you didn't get it right. You might be a robot. Redo it. And I'm just like, what did I do that signaled to?
I mean, there's like separate conspiracy theories about that, too, about how, or not even like conspiracy theories, but people think it was a way to kind of start AI, which was pattern recognition. And basically all these people going like, okay, this is like, here, I'm going to throw up an image and you're going to click what things are what I'm asking. And we're going to teach this to a program.
Right.
So that's kind of what a theory is of CAPTCHAs themselves. is that they kind of headed a lot of like AI knowledge and stuff like that. But basically, going back to what I was saying, this AI had asked and hired a TaskRabbit to do a CAPTCHA. And when the person was like, okay, this is kind of weird. Like, are you a robot? What the AI had responded with, no, I'm just vision impaired. And so without really any other verification of seeing who this is, like, how would you?
So it lied.
Yeah, it lied because it knew that if it said, yes, I'm a robot or I'm an AI, like the person's obviously not going to do the task.
Right.
And so by saying like, oh, no, I'm vision impaired, like I can't see the CAPTCHAs, I need somebody to do it for me. It's crazy. So you have this AI that's already tricking people. They have this documented now. So going back to the IQ stuff, like where is there any proof that these numbers were not calculated by a computer or AI? Maybe they're trying to trick you into thinking that they're not intelligent. Like, of course, if I was like some artificial intelligence that had an ulterior motive or whatever, or if I evolved or did whatever, yeah, I would want people to probably underestimate me.
I did watch a few videos of Elon Musk talking about AI. Mm-hmm. And in one of the videos, he's basically talking to, and I don't remember who exactly, and I actually don't even know who they were, but he was talking to and being interviewed, and he was saying that he was warning people about the advancement of AI and that he wanted everyone to slow down. And there was several videos of basically Elon Musk saying that, you know, there was a lot of fear about the rise of AI. Mm-hmm. And then I also tuned into a few of Joe Rogan's podcasts where he had several guests on who also are talking about different AI conspiracy theories and how we might not be headed in the right direction. I personally love AI right now anyway.
It makes your life easier, right?
It does make my life easier, you know, and it's cool to play with and it's cool to just have that.
Yeah, like the creation side of AI is awesome.
But it's also like, I would be lying if I said I didn't have intrusive thoughts that weren't like, is this AI going to come to attack me one day? Like, I got to text it. So now when I put anything into ChatGPT, I'm like, can you please format this for me?
You're asking nicely. So like the day that AI takes over, they're just like, oh, this one was nice to us.
I watched The Terminator, right? Like, I'm going to be on.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of movies that are about kind of that future, you know, machines, robots, AI kind of taking over. I mean, it's a pretty big thing in a lot of video games too, but the big ones that we know about are like Terminator, which is like Skynet. Skynet turns on everybody. I wasn't a huge Terminator fan, so I don't really know the entire backstory, but I assume that it's around kind of that similar storyline. Yeah. But then like even like Dune is like a future after a big AI war or a war with technology. And so in a lot of these cases, when we're using these things and it's just becoming so much like an integral part of our lives, it kind of does bring that fear response or that like the circulations of fear in your brain where you're just going like, if these things did turn on us, like we rely so heavily on them now.
Well, and I watched a video of someone saying that we're like only a few years away from having essentially fake people. And
like androids.
Right. And one guy goes, I already have enough fake people in my life and they're actually people. And I thought that was funny, but
yeah, no, you're talking about how like a lot of people are just like, I already have all these fake people in my life. But it's like just so interesting how crazy some of this modern AI has gotten, because I'm going to play an example for you. And it's just like hear like the realism and the empathy, like all the things, all the emotions in this voice.
That's actually a misconception. Scarlett Johansson was born in New York City. It's interesting how these kinds of misconceptions can spread, isn't it?
So it sounds like there's somebody on the other line like talking to you.
Right.
You know, so in all those situations where it's like we're not that far away from having these kinds of like, say like you're just lonely. It's like even like, you know, it's all going to go sexual some way, somehow. But even just like, hey, I want somebody to talk to. Imagine being able to like pull up like your new ChatGPT is just like, here, talk to this AI and just have a conversation.
Well, imagine when people start having like AI spouses.
Well, yeah, it's just like, well, that's like the whole thing. You know, there was a big thing with like the girlfriend experience type things, because I know like some people will kind of pay like escorts to do that type of stuff. where it's like, here's a girlfriend experience. This person will act like your girlfriend. It's like, when is it going to be that like the new Toys R Us, you know, it's like
we have a doll for you.
It's right. It's like a doll. It's like a doll for everybody. It's whether or not you're looking for a child, whether or not you're looking for a partner, or you're just looking for a friend, you know?
Well, it was interesting too, because there was this video of this like AI robot talking about how they don't like people. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
it's the old creepy looking one, right? That's got like half the head.
But I was like, to suggest that you don't like people suggests there's emotion, because there has to be a reason you just don't like people, or there has to be a reason why you feel happy with people, because that's emotion. So generally what you would think an AI robot would say is, I don't care either way. I don't even think about it.
Is that emotion though in those senses, or is that logic? Because if you are supposed to have an unbiased machine or an unbiased mind overlooking these things, when you look at humans as a species, how much good are we doing?
I guess the best way to put it is emotion provokes a feeling. Mm-hmm. It provokes a stance. Like, we take a stance based on that. So not liking or liking somebody is based on emotion. There's underlying emotion in that.
I feel like it can also be logic though.
It's not though. That's not how this works on the spectrum of emotion. So like, there's a lot of theories about how AI can create consciousness. And actually, I was watching a video today of this guy talking about how, you know, what happens when The Sims, like, right? Because in The Sims, you play, you go to work, you have a family, you have a boyfriend, like it's very normal life. And you might be able to explain it better than me.
Mm-hmm. Basically, if I'm on the same point as you right now, it's the guy asking, like, if we were to put AI and basically put AI in control of The Sims. No,
not necessarily. It was more like if Sims were given AI and then they were able to like recode essentially.
Yeah, if you implanted an AI into the game.
And now they have a separate consciousness, and this guy's like, it's just a hypothesis, but what if that's what happened to us?
Well, that's the whole thing too. It's like,
which dives into like simulation
if an AI
theory.
can replicate, you know, if an AI can replicate, you can sit there and plug it into the game like The Sims, and it can replicate itself for every single individual character. And now you have all these characters, and especially like kind of that creation theory that you're talking about. What it falls into is, if we could do this on a video game, theoretically, right? Logically, it kind of makes sense. It sounds pretty sound. If we can do this on like a fucking CD, then what's to say that the life that we're in right now also isn't like a simulation? Who's to say that we're not AI? You know, because when you're even looking at the advancements over time, you know, it's been increasing. Like we go crazy distances every year. If you ever look at any of the expos, like the technology expos. But it's like 15 years ago, we wouldn't have fucking known what AI was. AI was like a movie topic.
Yeah. I mean, and in our last episode, we discussed Leave the World Behind.
Yeah.
And there's that scene where all the Teslas are just crashing in.
No, you just hack the AI. You hack the navigation systems and all this thing, and you just force all these things that have self-control.
Which made me really glad my car had gas.
Yeah, no, it's scary. Electric cars, like, as much as I love and I support like the mission behind electric cars, I don't know how much like full control I want to give the car itself.
100%.
There's too much media out there, like whether it's fictional, nonfiction, of just like technology. We give too much trust and too much promise into all this technology that's supposed to be safe. It's supposed to help us, but it's only like a little bit of code away from wanting to kill you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what I was relating to what you were saying with the emotion. If you were to take a non-biased machine and just say, solve the problem, and they're like, the humans are the problem.
Oh, and that's totally correct. It's just the difference of being like, the humans are the problem versus I don't like humans. Yeah. Like is a feeling. Like,
well, also with that Scarlet example that I was giving you, like, I don't think you can have that level of discussion without having to somewhat code emotion.
Right.
You know, because how would you know what tones to use? How would you know?
So to some degree, AI can have a level of consciousness. Mm-hmm. Which is frightening.
Well, who's even to say like what consciousness is? You know, right. A lot of it, it's like weird to get into it. I saw this weird thing on Reddit. It was just like a text or like a shower thought. And it was one of the ones where it was talking about how everybody in the world, it's just our brains trying to convince us that we're more than brains.
Right, but we're just
a little organ, that's controlling a bunch of other organs.
Every time you have told me that since, all I see is Baldur's Gate, the little brains running around feet. Like that's all I see. And like the big, like, what was it?
The intellective hours.
Yeah.
And then the nautiloid.
Yeah, I was like 100%. That's it.
It's just all big brains. And so it's all these things where it's not too far-fetched to have that similar theory of, like, who's to say your brain's not a computer?
Right. I mean, aren't they trying to model computers essentially?
Well, that's kind of like what AI was supposed to be.
And they still, and to my understanding, now I could be completely wrong, to my understanding from what I know is that they don't really actually have the brain completely studied yet.
No, it's going to really be fully impossible unless we find a way to like open somebody's skull and leave them alive.
Well, like, and I went and had a SPECT scan done, and SPECT scans are amazing just in general for many purposes. And I know they have like, I think they can see like activity in the liver,
like blood flow and stuff, and try to relate it.
They're
to
amazing,
effects.
and so I know that's a great advancement. But even with that, it's like measuring the brain by,
capability.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to know. So I think we're probably a while away from fully understanding.
And that's even like when we're looking at IQ and stuff like that. I still think like, yeah, on a test you can kind of measure a rough level of somebody's intelligence, but we're discovering new shit fucking yearly.
Yeah.
Who's like, now we consider like emotional knowledge like an entirely different subject from standard intelligence.
Oh yeah. Well, I learned in my one of my first classes in college about 90% of success is related to emotional intelligence, and 10% is actually related to IQ. And so it's like EQ versus IQ, which has been from what I know too, with having probably a higher EQ than IQ, is that my EQ gives me enough like of that sense of like I can figure this out, even though I don't necessarily have the highest IQ. I might not be at a 180, but I might be emotionally intelligent enough to kind of figure it out. Yeah,
so that almost feels like it like falsifies IQ tests.
And obviously AI is they're not going to have an EQ, or they're going to have a very, very, very
like
low
weird
EQ.
thing to even kind of pin on there is when we look at all this intelligence and all this stuff, like who's to say that AI might be developing as something that's non-measurable to our current know-abouts. It's almost like looking at us being three-dimensional beings, and like, what if AI is fourth dimension?
I'm not gonna lie. When people used to talk about the simulation theory, it used to make me cringe. I was like,
it used to be like way back when, like 10 years ago, it was kind of like really far-fetched. Like you're like,
Well, yeah, there's so many theories on how we're here, why we're here. Like there's God, there's
Big Bang,
there's like there's all
theory,
But then when people came to me with the simulation theory, I was like, you got to get out of here.
It was it was like akin to like flat Earth.
It was
You're just like, shut up.
There's like, and no, I just can't. So with the simulation theory now though, and after all the advancement with AI, I was like, that's really interesting, especially because a lot of people have theories that there's aliens and other universes that have, they're way more technologically advanced.
That's just our sister file, that's got that whole other universe in it,
But I'm like, someone somewhere may be more technologically advanced, right? Like, are we some simulation? Like, I don't know. Well, so now it feels a lot like, because of AI, it feels a lot less crazy.
Look at general knowledge. Like, if we're going to count AI to the average person.
Oh my God.
Oh, Siri's already listening to you?
You're creepy, Siri.
I think I turned Siri off, honestly.
Honestly, that was really creepy because I didn't say anything even close to her name. And she's been listening for a minute. So
she figured out she's the first listener of the episode.
Don't worry, I'll be breaking my phone tonight. Like
No, but look at when we're comparing knowledge bases between AI and humans, like simple problems, like heavy, complex mathematic problems take the average person a long fucking time to do.
Right.
And these AI spit out the answers, it's like fucking boom. Like here's your fucking here's your goddamn fucking quadratics formula solved. And so if you're looking and you're kind of mapping that distance between knowledge between AI and humans. It's like, compare yourself to the intelligence of a cow. You know, a cow's probably not sitting there fucking wondering why it's alive. It's probably just like food, water, yum.
Yeah.
Like, this grass is great over here. Like, you're not really thinking of, there's not much thought going on there,
right.
You know? So really, it's one of those things where who are we to say what the knowledge of something else really is? You know, how are we going to measure IQ of fucking AI? And be like, oh, no, you know what? AI is only, it's like the high school wannabe nerd, you know?
Well, and there's also everything's online.
Yeah.
So who's to say that AI can't comb through some of that and find videos on how to act a certain way? And if you were to have an AI robot and you said, I need you to act this out, do you think they'd act it out? Probably. Mm-hmm. Right? Who's to say they don't go online, comb through this and now? I mean...
Well, a random thing that popped in my head the other fucking day, because I'm not gonna lie, there were some tests online school that you used like ChatGPT to definitely find the answer for you. But who's to say that the AI is not sitting there and purposely giving you a wrong answer just to see if it can? It's like, here, I've gotten them fucking 9 right answers. I'm gonna fucking pepper in. Here's
well,
a
they
wrong
definitely
one.
Don't get all of their facts right, so that's probably not far-fetched.
But do we know? There's no way to like really tell if is it legitly getting it wrong or is it fucking with me?
There would be no way to know because our expectation is that they don't have emotion.
And that's the thing that, that's the thing that we're afraid of is that they'll learn, you know, they'll learn these things and be like, okay, I can stay under the radar, not get caught as long as I don't cross these thresholds.
I don't think it's not if they learn. I think it's when they learn.
Yeah.
Because they will learn. And so that is
we know they learn fast. Did you ever hear that the story? I don't remember which companies. I'm totally going to butcher it. I'm pretty sure it was Google and maybe I don't fucking know. But basically they put 2 AI together.
Yeah.
And had them conversate with each other.
And weren't they getting heated?
It wasn't that they were getting heated. It was not too long did they actually develop their own language. They like adjusted English and basically were repeating words. Like they would be like, oh, I had, like, or they would do stuff like that. And that meant something fucking new. And both the AI were doing it back and forth. And so the people that were watching this and studying it, like the scientists or whoever, engineers and people that were fucking going through watching the study be done, all of a sudden they can't follow what the fuck is going on.
So how did they figure this out?
Because it was just, it was consistent enough where you can be like, that's fucking language. They're communicating.
Oh, okay.
But we don't know what the fuck they were doing. We don't know what they were saying.
So we still haven't figured that out.
No, we won't. Unless that'll be like solving the fucking Zodiac code, you know?
So we're over there thinking they're malfunctioning. Meanwhile, they're creating a
yeah, it's like, well, we didn't even think they were malfunctioning because
that's what I would have thought. Like if they just kept repeating words, I would have been like, okay, come on.
There's like pattern recognition behind it. But the thing is like kind of all of what I've been kind of peppering around tonight from us talking was like the AI they're learning. They're going on, they're doing shit. How can we measure how smart these things are if they're developing things faster? Like also maybe we created, like, you know, we're looking at 4th dimensional beings or multi-dimensional beings. Maybe we created the 4th dimensional beings. Who's to say that AI are not like can't see the 4th dimension? If we're counting time, if we're counting time as a dimension, who's to say that an AI can't learn to send itself through data streams and shit like back in time?
Well, isn't that why a lot of people go and do like ayahuasca and psilocybin? Because they're trying to reach another level of consciousness because there's so much about emotion that we're in our own way. And so when you can break free of that, which AI, they don't have that problem. Yeah. Would it be easier for them to see? Probably.
Yeah. And so it's like weird. It's a weird tunnel. And I hadn't like nothing really sparked this. It's just like random rabbit holes that all go down. But it's just like, it's interesting to think, you know, you kind of sit there and I almost feel like dumbfounded when I even try to think about it because it almost feels like beyond comprehension. Well,
and it is. And again, to go back to Leave the World Behind, there was a part of the movie where, you know, you see that they're kind of closed off from what's happening out in the world. That is a freaky feeling. And I think about growing up because when we were kids, cell phones weren't really there.
Yeah.
It was like your parents had pagers.
When the Palm Pilot came out, it was like the craziest fucking thing.
And you had a phone at home, but like that, you know, it was hooked up like landlines, whatever. And back then I didn't feel like, we didn't really have as much access to what we have now.
No, and so
it
like,
feels scary to have that kind of
that reliance
because, you know, in that movie, I would have loved to have been that family. Like I would have been so grateful that we were in that area and that, right. But ultimately to be so in the dark would
scary.
be terrifying because you don't know how long this is going to be.
Yeah. Well, it's simple shit, you know, it's like, let me think of a easy example. If they just turned maps off,
I wouldn't know how to get anywhere.
Yeah, how the fuck would you know? Like if you could not look up and just click on somebody's address, like Google some shit on your phone real quick and be like, where's Taco Bell? You know, if you didn't know where fucking Taco Bell was, how the fuck are you going to find it?
Yeah. If you don't know where to fish, how do you go fish?
Exactly. And so it's scary on those thoughts, especially with that movie.
That movie really gave me...
like how reliant we are on technology, which is like, it ties so well into like the AI, like Terminator theory, you know, end of the world type shit, because if we're creating technology that can learn and master technology better than we can, it can easily see that we're so fucking reliant on it. At what point does it go like, I don't fucking need you guys, I can create myself?
Right. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of...
It's where there's like a lot of petitions. People want shit to slow way the fuck down.
Well, yeah. And surprisingly, a lot of, you know, like I said, Elon Musk, like a lot of people have been talking about it, and it doesn't... I think the general consensus is that I think most people would agree that while it's cool, slowing it down would also be, you know, sufficient.
Well, in our lifetime, we've seen such a jump in like evolution of technology. Again, like you were just saying, when we were kids, we were kind of isolated, or not even like isolated. It was everybody was more in touch with each other without needing the technology. But now that's only like 25, 26 years ago.
Well, I think of like our daughter, and she'll come to me and she'll be like, can you text my friend's mom and ask her if she can come out and play? And I saw a post the other day that was like, this is how you used to know where the squad was at. And it was like a bunch of bicycles just out in one.
Knew where
and that's where like you had to go get on your bike or your roller skates or your skateboard or whatever. And you had to go scope the whole neighborhood to see where the homies were at. Like you had no idea. So it's so crazy to me that now our daughter's like, can you text her mom? And I was like, no, go knock on her door. Like, did that become such a taboo thing? And is technology we're so reliant on it that we're just like, I'd rather do that.
Well, it's really like a span of 30 years, you know? You see, we had fucking like DHL fucking internet, you know?
VHS.
Some slow ass shit, you know? If somebody got on a phone call, the internet would bog the fuck down. Now we're at like terabyte fucking download speeds.
Well, and I think about the Poltergeist because I was afraid of box TVs for like a hot minute because of that movie. And I was talking with someone on Threads about that today. And I was like, you know, that TV had me afraid, or that show had me afraid, or movie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
that movie had me afraid of box TVs for a minute.
You're afraid of Siri.
And we had a huge box TV in our living room. And so I'd go buy it like super quick. Like I was like, you're
That's where the Ring, like the girl from The Ring came out.
Yeah.
Of it. You're just like, what is in this? Like a bunch of horror.
Emery would probably see it and be like, this is a really nice coffee table. Like,
well, also like CRT TVs used to like leave you like the room just feeling eerie. Like I felt like maybe it was the static
gave off. Yep.
But it like charged the room.
And it was hot always.
Yeah, but it was like,
they always felt like they were 2 seconds away from burning down the house. They always felt fucked
up. Like, I was like, some shit's going down.
Yeah, we had one for like a while. Like, my dad didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave that era. He just didn't. There were flat screen TVs, and he was going to make that thing last.
So if that was like 30 fucking years ago, what's 30 years in the future from now?
That's a really terrifying thought.
Right?
I mean, but again, it was terrifying to me that, you know, I watched a thing about we're only a few years away from having like AI robots. And and just wandering, like I think they said the year 2029, and I was like, that's way too soon for me right now.
Where you're gonna have like androids and shit fucking walking around like butlers and stuff.
And that's terrifying.
Have you seen iRobot?
No.
You haven't seen iRobot?
I don't believe so.
Will
Wait, is that
Smith?
the one with Will Smith? Yeah, okay. I watched it, but like a lot, like
We're gonna watch it again.
long time ago.
We are gonna watch it again. We have to. Because that's like the same thing. It's like you have these robots and stuff. And there's also a game that we need to play.
Terminator's a
Fuck,
good one.
what's the name of that goddamn game?
I liked all the Terminators, and that might not be popular opinion. But
I don't remember the name of the game, but I'll download it and we can play it. It's about like AI and
Okay.
robots and shit.
the cool thing about AI would be, I bet you will have a lot of technological advancements. So
Yeah.
that's rad. But, you know, there's fear of like, are we going to lose a bunch of jobs? You know what this reminds me of? Are they going to be friendly? Like, is this going to be a cohesive relationship?
So you've seen The Matrix at least.
I actually have not seen. I have no idea what that's about.
So The Matrix, the rough idea of it is there was a war between humans and machines, and the machines won.
Okay. That's frightening.
But they created a program called The Matrix, which was life. It was a simulation, you know, and they plugged people into these simulations. And so in their brains, they're living their lives. They're going through everyday fucking shit. But really what's happening is these robots are using these humans as like batteries.
Oh, wow.
And so you spend your life in like a tank, basically having your energy sucked dry. But in your brain, you're living a whole fucking life. And so things like deja vu were like glitches in the program.
That's freaky.
So all of that kind of, it's hand in hand. Like if there is one movie that's basically describing all these fears, it's that movie. Because where we're saying where AI might figure out that it doesn't need us, what if worse, it figures out that or they don't need us, but we need them. But at what point are humans, because we're so emotional, what would we give up to just be happy? Would we give up full control if AI just came out and was like, we can literally make everybody happy? We could end world hunger. We could end fucking wars, all this shit by plugging you in a fucking simulation. And then it allows them to just do their fucking thing. Crazy, right? Right? It's like you're like, I don't fucking know what to say anymore. I just want to go to bed and snuggle my fucking blanket if it's real.
Yeah, if it's real.
If it's real.
You know, I'm starting to feel like if I ever play The Sims again, I got to play with like, you know, my head on a swivel.
It just fucking,
You never know when they're just going to start.
Because it's one of the few theories that I'm not able to just be like, there's this one thing that just totally debunks your entire theory.
Well, AI is part of everything. Like, so your dad was really excited because Copilot came out, and he's like, I bought us the licenses, and so now we have Copilot, and it's literally on everything. It's on Word, it's on PowerPoint, it's on my chats. Like if I go search something on Bing, like Copilot's there, and it's kind of like, in one sense, it's nice, and in another sense, it's kind of like, why are you everywhere? And I feel like I can't get away from you. You're like a clingy person, you know. And it does kind of. It's
like the old helpers.
So you know, going back to that video we were talking about earlier, where the guy was talking about like if sins had essentially created their own coding or their own reality or consciousness, it's like we're probably not far away from AI just being added to just about everything. I mean, really, honestly, because it really is actually at this point.
Well, it's like it's kind of one of those things where it's like collective memory in general. When you're talking about creation theories and all these things, like a simulation almost fits that kind of beginning theory perfectly because our collective intelligence only goes so fucking far back.
Well, even where we are now.
Who's to say that the start of the simulation wasn't the Egyptians? You know, shit like that. Like
because of the freaking pyramids that we can't even explain how they were built.
But it's stuff like that where it's like, what if that was just fucking generated?
And it could have been.
But you have a plugged in
I feel
history.
like historically we've been pretty shitty record keepers.
Yeah. And it all just starts at one point.
And we tend to like lose some records or we don't write them right or whatever the case is. And so there's probably a lot. And
maybe Mandela effect is the code being rewritten.
Oh.
You know, like it's a fuck up or a change. Like it's been a typo the whole fucking time. But somebody like figured it out and it's like, oh shit.
That's a crazy theory.
It's fucking weird. Like you can just go on and on and on and on and on with AI and creation theory.
Well, I didn't recognize how many theories there were on AI. Like
at first when we were kind of talking about topics, I think you and I were both like, fuck, we're kind of AI is like a big topic. What the fuck do you talk about?
How do you dial it down? Yeah.
But it's literally everything. Like you can just keep every single theory that you have, like could be considered simulation, could be considered AI, could be like, you know, which gods for whichever religion, who's to say that they're not programs?
That's crazy. And you know,
if you look at like versions of phones and versions, like you're like, here's the iOS fucking 48 million. You know, who's to say Zeus wasn't the name of an iOS before or some shit like that, you know?
Yeah,
who's
right.
to say that we're just not
Zeus
going off
and
of different...
iOS 7.
You're like, which operating system is this right now?
They're like, this is
Raw.
your star in the sky. iOS 7 and 8.
Yeah, brought to you.
Here.
The next new religion, iOS 8.
iOS 8.
And that about wraps it up, though, for our discussion tonight. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a little crazy. Kind of topics been going out all over the place. We haven't been super consistent lately. Just had a lot going on. But we've been trying to be live on all the socials, at least.
Feel free to suggest topics.
Yeah, we're always open to discussing whatever. If you ever want to guest on the podcast, you can reach out to us on some of our socials, DM us. But thank you again for checking out the podcast. Have a good night.
Good night.